Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Love and Lattes. Victoria here, the self-love scientist, and today's guest is the fabulous Gwendolyn Young. Gwendolyn is a highly accomplished administrative and operations expert with over 20 years of experience. As the founder and CEO of your virtual admin expert, Gwendolyn is renowned for her strategic insight, meticulous attention to details, and unwavering commitment to client success. Backed by know-how, Gwendolyn's high-level education in organizational leadership and business information systems, along with a pure passion for people, Gwendolyn is a recognized authority in her industry. Ooh, spicy. When Gwendolyn is not doing the work, she loves spending time with her husband, James, of 28 years, her three young adult children, and her two grandbabies. Gwendolyn, hi. Thank you so much for joining me on Love and Lattes today.
Hi, Victoria. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yes, ma'am. Oh my gosh, that just reading your bio just speaks like ultimate boss babe.
Thank you.
Like
Every
just
time I listen to it, I'm like, "Huh, if that wasn't me, I think I'd want to know her."
oh, I love that. And what is that like to, just hearing that bio overall and the work you've been doing, like what has that been like for you to like kind of step into this role?
It has been truly humbling, right? And it's been really inspiring because to think about just kind of where I've come from, just considering like how I've grown up, some of the struggles that I've had, and to hear all these amazing things that despite all of that, I've still been able to have these amazing accomplishments. It's just like, wow. Right? Like, oh my gosh. And I just hope that it serves as inspiration to other people.
Yeah. What is it that being that you have a pure passion for people, why is that? I think that's pretty, like, to be honest, like I had the blessed like opportunity to speak with you before and like you and I were already vibing and having a good time.
Yes.
And I do think it does take, some unique individuals to really have this passion for helping others, especially in your niche. And what is it about it that draws you to people to help them?
Yeah, I love people and I love seeing people win. And so if I can even play a small part of helping you get to your goal, then that's exciting for me. I grew up as an only child. I'm my mom's only daughter, but then I'm the oldest of seven siblings on my dad's side. So, I've always been telling people what to do, wrangling people together, like the whole nine yards. I was the girl who was teaching, what is it, Sunday school as a teen and all the things. So I've just always been in this space of people. And so when I got into administration, I loved being the person behind the scenes. I'm like, you don't have to be number one. It's number two that makes everything happen. And so it's like, I was the person who was making sure that they had everything that they needed, making sure all of the pieces behind the scenes was flowing together. And I just fell completely in love with that. And it was when I got the opportunity to manage two ambulatory care centers that I really got to see the work in that and the power behind that, right? And so I was managing the front desk as well as medical records and working with the physicians. And so it quickly became apparent that, oh my gosh, if the front desk doesn't register the patients properly, medical records doesn't pull the right chart, or they don't clean it properly, then the physician doesn't have everything they need when they go into the room with the patient. If the physician codes improperly, then the patient gets a bill for something that didn't happen. And so it became this entire circle of how do we make sure the patient is really taken care of from an administrative standpoint, right? Because I don't think we think about that enough. We think about what happens in the room with the physician in terms of their care. But part of their care is still all of the administrative functions that go into that before the visit. And so I fell in love with making sure those pieces were in the right spaces. And so I think of it in terms of what if that were your grandmother going to the doctor? right? What if that was your elderly mom or father going to the doctor? And when you think of things in that way, service takes on a different perspective for you.
I agree. Things kind of start to shift when you see it from a different perspective.
Yes.
And being this like ultimate CEO, like ultimate just all around badass. Let's go ahead and say it. A round of applause, everyone, for Gwendolyn. Thank you. Because stepping into the service industry is a lot of energy. Like you're exporting a lot
Yes.
of yourself. You're using a lot of creative, a lot of like honestly, like I think of anytime you have to output and put a lot of thought process behind the work you're doing, it consumes a lot. So with
Yes.
that in mind, how do you yourself create any kind of space or organization for things outside of work? How does that work for you?
Everything is a process. I don't care if it's work related or not. Everything is a process. Everything has to be on the calendar. Like I live and breathe by my calendar. And it's so funny that you say that because literally my daughter last night sent a text message and she's like, Mom, I've already checked your calendar. You're free on the 22nd. Put this on the schedule because we're going to dinner. And I'm like, okay, as long as it's free. So everybody knows everything is a process. And if you want me to be there, then you respect my schedule. But that has been a big piece of me being able to create the space for myself as well, right? Is setting those boundaries and having a schedule in place and respecting that. One of the things I always say to my clients that there is a difference in putting something on the calendar and then respecting the time that you've created for it, right? If it's easily movable, you're not really respecting that space. And so I want you to think of it like creating time for yourself, the same as if when you go to the doctor, right? The doctor's not just going to easily replace you on a schedule. It's got to be something super urgent that comes up. But think about the things that you don't so easily move around in your life. The time for yourself has to be the same because if you're no good, nothing else works anyway. And so creating space for me and choosing me means that I'm always at my best for everybody else.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, like we have to say yes to us because if I'm worn down, if I'm overwhelmed, if I'm exhausted, if I'm burned out, I can't serve my clients to its highest potential. I can't serve my team to my highest potential. And so it really is a ripple effect on everybody around me and that's connected to me. And so I protect my time fiercely. That's not to say that you can't be flexible because I'm flexible. But if there is something really, really important, you've got to work around it. And so when I create my schedule for the year, and here's a tip for all of my boss babes out there listening, when you put together your schedule, so we're working on 25 already, right? I'm putting in my vacation time first. I'm putting in the time that I'm going to be out of the office or that I have professional development. That goes on the calendar first, and then everything else gets scheduled around it. So that way, I'm not going into the year trying to figure out where do I fit. I've
Mm.
already decided where I fit first, and then everybody else can get in on it.
This is so good. Oh my gosh, everybody, please rewind like the past to the beginning. Thank you. I have to say I absolutely admire this and being that I started my own personal business 2 years ago and I promise you like in the beginning I just said yes to every little bit that I could
Yes.
and it's it ended up burning a lot and also like still fulfilling. However, my approach this year has been completely different. Like I was able to redefine my boundaries like within my clients. Like we have a private communication space where when we're
Yes.
anything outside our sessions, if they are part of that, program or package, then they have a certain amount of access to me during certain times because unless it was like an emergency, which case like then I would,
Yes.
approach the situation. However, like my response time and then sending them resources time, like actually giving myself that breathable space is
Yes.
just so like as you say, like it gives me the amount of space to invest in like my response and also like getting the everything I need for them.
Yes.
And at the same time, I love that you mentioned putting yourself first. And like, I love that you share your calendar with your family.
Oh my gosh.
My, I cannot tell you how, it was a joke for a while, but then it became more of it, like, and this is probably pretty common nowadays, but as like I've grown older and like just making dates with my friends, it's like, oh, hey, I'd love to see you. And like most recently, I hadn't seen one of my girlfriends in like the whole summer. Like we wanted to like spend time by the pool together. No, we got down into our work. I was traveling for a month. She was traveling the other month. We finally got together and now we're planning our next get together
Yes.
a month from now. We're like, you free on this weekend? Yeah. Okay. Block it right
Absolutely. And
now.
there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think what we have to remember is that the power of choosing ourselves isn't about rejecting anybody else,
Mhm.
right? That's not what it's about. It's about recognizing that we're the foundation of everything that we want to build. And so, if we want to build great relationships and intentional relationships, if we want to build great businesses, if we want to have great client experiences, we have to make sure that we do those very same things for ourselves, right?
Yes. I,
Why would I treat a client better than I treat myself? If I make space for a client, why wouldn't I make space for me? It just makes sense. The honor goes both ways, and it starts with me. I'm the foundation of that. And so it is perfectly okay to choose yourself. I think as women, we've always been told, to serve, submit, like all these things, which is great, but that doesn't mean exclude yourself. It doesn't mean do that to your own detriment. That's not what that means. And so for me, it's been this growing and this elevation of they'll be okay.
oh. Have, have you always had this mentality, or is this something you had to practice over time?
Practice, right? Because I'm a person for, 20 years that I had small children and a husband. And so life was completely about them. It was about what do they need? What do they need today? What are they going to need next week? What events do I have to attend for them? Even down to cooking dinner. What are they going to eat? Right? Like everything was about them. Being in corporate America, everything was about the boss. It was about the patients. It was about the team. And so when I got into entrepreneurship, which wasn't by choice, believe it or not, I got a diagnosis of systemic lupus, and that was a life-altering change for me. And so in that process is where this started to really develop for me. And so as I was going through recovery, I knew that I did not want to ask for permission to go to the doctor. I'm like, there's no way I'm about to be asking for permission to go see the specialist or even to take a nap in the middle of the day if that's what my body is requiring. I'm not going to do that. And so I'm going to have to choose me in this instance. And so that's when I started with how do I build a business around what I need? How to serve me? How do I build a business that serves me just as well as it serves the people that I'm going to be serving? And I've been practicing that ever since.
Ooh. This is so inspiring. I absolutely love your energy.
Thank
And
you.
I
Oh
think
my
it's
gosh.
I think it again, I know I've said it before. I do think it's rare to see someone like not just speak it, but also like living through that as well. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it's the fact that you're able to recognize like I'm just as worthy as the work I supply.
Yes.
As you say, like it's like the whole practice what you preach. Like when you hold space for others, you need to make sure you hold space for yourself.
Yes.
If you're
Absolutely.
creating organization for these clients, are you creating organization for yourself? And I would say you can use this kind of concept in all avenues of your life. It's everything.
It is. And it's so, for me, it creates a sense of calm and peace, right? Versus this whole chaos of, oh, I've got to find time to squeeze in for myself. No. Why? Because if we do that, we're always going to show up last on the totem pole. Everybody else's needs is going to always be more important. There's going to always be something else to do for somebody else. It's never going to stop. And so if we wait, where will we ever fit into that equation?
It's like the
And
concept
now,
of, oh, go
oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I
Sorry.
know we're so excited because now that's where you open up the door for resentment to come in, right? And bitterness to come in because once again, you chose to put everybody else before you, but now you don't like it because you don't have the space to rejuvenate for your own self. That's not a great way to lead. I was just having this conversation yesterday with a group I was facilitating. When we're in leadership, the first people we have to lead is ourselves. That's where it starts. And so set the standard where you are just as important as everything else and everyone else around you.
Hmm. I think everything you're saying kind of speaks to that concept when people say, I don't have enough time. And it's like, no, no,
Yes.
yes, you do. You just need to create it. And it does take, I think in the beginning, for some people, I feel like it's going to feel like sacrifice, or there's going to be a part
Yes.
of them that's like, having to tell other people no, having to lighten up the workload, which also kind of gets into, especially for like for women, like we love to work. We love,
Yes,
like,
we do.
unfortunately, we've been programmed in our minds to serve.
Yes.
And we utilize this mindset, this concept of serving to match, like to equalize our value, when in reality that's not true.
Yes.
Like the
Yes.
output of work you do does not equal your worth. Like you're so much more than your work. And this also applies to men. Like any men listening out there, like the amount of work you're putting out there compared to the time you're spending with yourself, your friends, and your partners, like that does not align with your self-worth.
No, because we have to remember as well, right? There's this whole work-life balance that you hear everyone talk about. And I like to frame it and look at it as work-life harmony, right? Because work-life balance for me insinuates that there's going to be an equal distribution to both. And that's not always true, right? Sometimes work is going to require a little bit more of me where I might be working a little bit more versus what time I'm spending at home. And then home may sometimes require a little bit more of me than what I have to give to work. And so I think the goal is harmony and where it works for you, right? Where it's kind of this fluid thing that they work together because they're going to intersect. I don't think that you can ever have such a strict boundary between work and home, especially as an entrepreneur. They are bound to intersect and cross with each other. And so it's more of how do I create this harmony between the two where it's fluid and it feels really good and it works for me.
Mm.
And I'm okay with that. If this is a week where I have to spend more time with my grandkids or taking care of my husband or taking care of myself than I do working, I'm okay with that. Because there's going to be other weeks where I'm probably going to work 50 hours or 60 hours, and I'm not going to spend as much time with my husband or with my grandkids. And I'm okay with that because that's what the season is calling for.
Yes, I love that. And I do agree, like even as an entrepreneur, like there are some nights where that creativity just comes right in. And if I don't knock this project out, it's never going to stop swarming in my brain.
Yes. And it's okay that we do that. It's perfectly okay.
And what would be for anyone who's listening, whether they're an entrepreneur or someone who just kind of outputs a lot of work, or maybe they just wear a lot of hats, like mom, boss babe, maybe they have a passion, maybe they also lead, speak, etc. Just we love to do, like we like to be a multitasker, right?
Yes.
What would be, how do we get out of that funk of I'm overtasking myself, I'm overburdening myself because I can think of a few people who are listening who are probably experiencing like that resentment you talk about. What's the best way to step away or to kind of start, dissolving this feeling of resentment?
Yeah, I think first you have to get clear, right? You really have to get clear on what it is that you want. I always say we're building businesses around our lives, not the other way around. And so get really clear on what it is that you want. And then after that, get really clear on the things that only you really should be doing. And then start making a plan to delegate out all of the rest, right? Because we're paying for it either way. Sometimes we'll say, oh, I don't have the funds, or I don't have the time, or I don't have this, but you're paying for it anyway, whether that be in time, money, or energy. You're paying for it. And so think about what's really important that only you really have the skill set to do, and then delegate out the rest of that stuff. Get support, get people to help you accomplish the things that you want to do. And that's professionally and personally, right? I'm not going to worry. I'm going to just be completely transparent with you right now. I'm thinking about cleaning my house, right? Because if I had to choose between making money and cleaning up, I'm going to sit in my office and make some money. That's what I'm going to do. And so I would rather figure out a way on how I'm going to pay $150 or $200 and have somebody come in and clean my house for, once a month or whatever that looks like, because I'm not thinking about it. If I got to choose, I'm going to sit right here in this chair and I'm going to make some money, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to step over those pile of clothes.
I think that's super honest. That's being honest with yourself. Like you said, you're learning to like move and create opportunities, like
Yes,
like to help in other avenues of your life. And I think
absolutely. So think about what's really important and then start there, right? And you'll start to find that joy and that love for what you started building come back.
Mm. Oh, I love this. This is great. I personally am taking notes. I'm like, okay, yes, I need to do that. Because I also considered, like looking into like, oh, my house is getting a little dirty because I've been sitting in this chair for,
You've been working.
Or just having like attending events, meetings.
Yes.
We tend to let a lot of things go. However, I do think utilizing a calendar is very helpful as well. And just
Absolutely.
really,
Use tools and systems to help you. When I first started my business and I really couldn't afford support, then I thought about, okay, what are the systems and tools that I can use to automate things to keep them going, right? So use systems, use tools, delegate. All of these things are going to help you get that time and space back to really focus on you and the things that bring you joy.
mm, this has been fabulous, Gwendolyn. I'm enjoying this.
I know, I feel like we could talk forever.
I know we can. What's before I'm gonna sign you off for everything, but what's next for you in terms of just not outside of business? Like, what's the next thing that you get to do like outside of your work schedule?
So I think for me, I've really just been focusing on spending more time with my grandkids. My grandson is 6, my granddaughter is 2, and so really having an influence in their life is really important to me. And then my husband and I are just always planning like what's our next getaway going to be. So we went down to Mexico this past for the summer. And so now we're already thinking about what's the next getaway that we're going to have together, just he and I. All my children are young adults. And so, we have a little bit more flexibility and freedom to just like pack a bag and jet out. And so outside of business, I'm just thinking about the next place I'm going to rest and rejuvenate and vacation and spending time with those 2 little grandchildren of mine.
Mhm. And that when you said that, I immediately thought of the fact that you've already planned out your 2025, where you're in that planning stage, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's fantastic. I feel like, you don't have to wait till the like December 31st to fully realize like,
Oh,
what do I
no.
want to do next? You can do that today.
Absolutely not. I am already almost done mapping out vacation for 25, right? Because it's going to serve me well and it's going to serve clients well. Because soon as it's done, there's an email that's going out to let clients know I am going to be out of the office during these times. So they know don't plan any major projects that are going to involve me because I will not be here.
That's an important message.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. Start now. Start dreaming and thinking about where you want to go. Get it on the calendar, block it out so you don't book anything else in that space. And get back to just having fun and joy. I try to find little moments of joy every day.
Mm. What was your moment of joy today?
My husband has these amazing fresh flowers that he put in my office. I'm gonna show you real
Oh,
quick.
that's right. The first conversation, as soon as we met, I was like, "Where'd you get those flowers?"
I know. See, he replenishes them all the time. So I got new flowers. And so coming in, you see my little candle burning in the
Candles. Oh,
background.
okay.
So that was my come in this morning. And I was just like, I love being in this space.
Mm.
Love being in this space. I have to spend so much time in it that I'm like, I want it to be a place of joy. And so that was my moment this morning. And then I had a really great blueberry muffin.
Oh, sweet. I love this. Everyone, take a note, write this down. Would you say find or just ex
Yeah, just find a little moment of joy in every day. I
Yes.
think sometimes we make the mistake of thinking everything has to be like these super grandiose gestures, but like it's the small things that bring you joy. I love candles, I love flowers. It's the small things. So we can find a moment of joy in every day if we're really intentional about it.
Oh, I love that. I think gratitude has served a long way for me. And I
Yes.
think even just taking a moment, like if you do a lot of work from home and you take a moment of pause and like take a look around the space, like look how far you've come, admire the home you're in, or when you're cooking, look how beautiful and colorful your food looks, or
Yes.
see the sun, look at the sky for just like a few seconds and just recognize
All
the
of the
beauty
above.
that you get to experience in this exact moment.
Yes. Be present.
I love this. I have to share because like you shared the candles and flowers. I was working remotely from a cafe today and if you were to walk and look at me, you could tell I was in the zone and like just kind of centered. The process is happening and I was hitting that. I was getting to that point where I was like, I'm burning a lot of creativity. And one of the baristas came and gave me a pastry. And they just put it down and walked away. They didn't say anything. And then I just looked at them and I smiled and I was like, it made such a difference. It like lit me up. I got my energy back like that. And then as soon as I was leaving, they were like, "Did you enjoy the pastry?" I said, "Thank you. You have no idea how much that
Oh
just
my gosh. Yeah,
brought."
because they saw you, right? That means they noticed you and they saw you and they wanted to bring a little bit of joy to your day. That's amazing.
Exactly. And it was just I'm a love language. One of my love languages is pastries. Pastries next to the flowers.
I get it. Yes, it's a whole thing.
This has been wonderful, Gwendolyn. And if people are interested in learning more about what Gwendolyn does and her mastery, I'm gonna have her links in the show notes.
Awesome.
Gwendolyn, thank you so much for being here with me today. I truly enjoyed listening to your expertise and also hearing that reminder to just make more space for fun. And I can't emphasize that enough as someone who used to burn out, like and
Mm,
think that was normal and very casual. And now it's very rare. However, when it happens, it takes a toll on you. So
yes,
really practice understanding where you're putting your energy and then think about where that's going, who it serves, and then bring it back to you because you were the
yes,
center of the universe. And from your center, you can output everything else.
absolutely. Thank you so much for the invite, Victoria. This has been wonderful.
And thank you everyone for listening to another amazing episode of Love and Lattes. Have the best day.